I had a lot of people call up and say, I don't remember what the service is about. That's good, because this is only the second such service that has ever happened.
Everyone says, like, what is this thing that you're doing, Harriet? And first of all, they can't pronounce it, and they always call it this thing, or your event, or your celebration. It's called a simchat. Let's all say it, simchat. Good, chachma.
A year and a week ago, Savina Tuval celebrated her birthday with a simchat chachma.
I felt that women needed a ritual, a rite of passage that's basically in Judaism, the men have most of the rituals and women don't. And this is an important point in one's life.
You know, it's interesting to me that when I met you, you were Harriet Field, and you were talking about being interested in doing a ritual. So you're kind of the second generation of doing Simchat Chachma ceremonies. And what made you decide? What was it that drew you to doing this?
Well, first of all, Marty, I didn't know there was such a ceremony, and I wanted to mark the 60th birthday with some kind of ritual. And I had studied for what I thought was my bat mitzvah. And so as it was evolving, I realized that I was not 13. I wanted to make some kind of demarcation from moving from the past and the midlife to the eldering, which I think is like a great thing. So I wanted to create a ceremony that would state that rather than duplicating something from a teenager.
I think it could be something quite beautiful. And it could be in compensation for all the birthdays that I hid, that I kept secret, and in a certain sense for all the denial about growing older as a woman.
Women in our society, as they age, are being erased. It's as if we don't want to see them. And this is kind of saying, I'm here, and this is what I am doing, and this is who I am, and see me for what I am. Recognize that I exist, that I have power, I can make change in the world.
I think women in the culture often got short shrift. So the idea of celebrating women's lives as they became older, as they grew older, was just exhilarating for me.
I based the ritual on the Sarah and Abram story, and I took from it certain elements.
A Simchat Chachma ceremony can consist of any or all of the following components: community participation, naming ceremony, reading Torah, healing ceremony, receiving blessings, acknowledging mortality, a legacy or tree planting ceremony, a covenant, your commitment.
It's really something that is very personal, and that each person can make their own individual Simchat Chochmah, even based on the elements that I gave.
The hard work is the thinking through the elements of the ritual and the statement that you're choosing to make. You're making a statement about who you were, who you are, and who you're going to be. And that is truly what makes this a Simchat Chochmah.
When I created it, I wanted to create it communally, not just myself. And so I asked different people in the community to help me. One was Drora Settle, who helped me construct the ceremony, basing it on the Shabbat morning service. And the other person who was important in this was Debbie Friedman, who's now become a very well-known singer, but she wrote various new songs for my Simcha, including one called Lechilach, to which I wrote the words, and she wrote the music.
Both of these women are friends of mine, but I also invited Marcia Falk, who is a talented poet and creator of prayer, and Rabbi Sue Levy Elwell to help me in planning it. So they all participated in the planning of this.
And sing from your hearts. Let your souls just soar as we sing together. Lechi lach, lechi, to a land that I will show you. That I will show you. Lech lecha, to a place you do not know. You do not know. Lechi lach, lechi. On your journey I will bless you. And you shall be a blessing. Shall be a blessing. You shall be a blessing. You shall be a blessing.
Names are important, very important in the Bible. They always mean something. When children are born, they're given a name, and that's more or less projecting what their life is going to be about.
You name who you are, what your qualities are, what you would like them to be. God named Adam. Adam named Eve, but almost all of the other names were given by the mothers. And they all had special meaning. So there's something very holy, very almost assuming a characteristic of God when we name ourselves.
If you are unhappy with your life and you change your name, you're changing part of your identity. And I think it makes a very big difference to how you feel about yourself.
In Jewish tradition, it is customary for a person to take a new name when they are going through a life transition. On the occasion of my 60th birthday and my Simchat Chachma, I will be taking a new name.
Now, you know in the story of Sarah and Abraham at the time of the covenant, they were Sarai and Avram, and after the covenant, they became Sarah and Abraham. And Savina took her name of Sarah at her Simchat Chachma. And I really love the name change because I have to tell you, whatever you call me, from the time I was a baby, I always felt I had a no-win name. I was Marty, I was supposed to have been a boy, and I wasn't. I was Marcia when people got mad at me, as in Marcia. So I decided, now not outside of this room, so to speak, but for ceremonial purposes, I am about to take on the name of Miriam. So when I am called up to the Torah in the future, I will be called up as Miriam bat Hinda va'Avraham.
And I wanted to carry it one step further in giving myself this name on a daily basis. That, for me, was a very bold step, and I still feel that. I have the name of Miriam Chaya, which is a totally different name from the one I was given at birth and the one I had in my life. So I'm not denying who I was, but this name is saying I'm going to make it from 60 on with Miriam Chaya. And every time one calls me that name, the memory of having that Simchat Chachma comes up.
I would say that it's more of a genuine identity rather than a different identity. I think if you choose your own name, you choose it because that's who you see yourself as being.
So we ask now all of you who would like to take on a new name, a name that you have chosen, deliberated about, or who at this very minute are choosing a new name. Also, the elders among us, and we are blessed with many who can claim the name of Hacham and Hachama today. Please come forward. We are also using Marty's grandmother's tablecloth. And this is the other half. We have the tallis, now we have the tablecloth. And we're going to hold it over the name changers as we repeat a naming blessing.
You be blessed beneath the wings of Shekhinah. Be blessed with love. Be blessed with peace. Ruchot habaot.
We who name ourselves are claiming the right to be known in a way that we choose. So names of honor are given, and names of essence are claimed in the presence of this congregation.
In the story of the Exodus, the Jews were fleeing Egypt, pursued by the Pharaoh's army. Their faith in God was challenged as they stood at the edge of the Red Sea. Moses and his older sister Miriam led them into the waters. Filled with the fear of drowning, the people had given up all hope until God parted the sea and they crossed safely to the other side. A miracle, a time for celebration. Miriam took her timbrel in her hand and all the women danced with her.
I really have always related to Miriam. First of all, when she was a little kid, she had a big mouth and a real smart brain, right? She was never afraid to speak up, regardless of the consequences. She could convince the Pharaoh's daughter to do what she did. Remember, she was a little girl.
We see that Miriam was definitely a leader of women, a prophetess, a seer who followed her instincts. She did not consult a committee, or a psychiatrist, or even an astrologer. She listened to her own heart song. I would like to trust my own inner voice, to surrender to my faith in God.
And so I aspire to be a Miriam, and that's the name that I am going to take.
Sing a song to the one whom we've exalted. Sing a song to the one whom we've exalted. Miriam and the women danced and danced the whole night long. Miriam and the women danced and danced the whole night.
Straight text from the Torah, ladies and gentlemen.
As Miriam stood upon the shores and gazed across the sea, the wonder of this miracle she's seeking to believe. Whoever thought the sea would part with an outstretched hand, and we would pass to freedom and our true promised land. And the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang a song. Sing a song to God whom we've exalted. Miriam and the women danced and danced all night long. And Miriam the prophet took her timbrel in her hand, and all the women followed her just as she had planned. And Miriam raised her voice with song, she sang with praise and might. We've just been through a miracle, we're going to dance tonight. And the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the Lord whom we've exalted. Miriam and the women danced and danced all night long.
I'd like to tell you about how moved I was when I held the Torah. That was that was such an emotional experience. I had never touched the Torah, for instance. I had literally never touched it even. My parents were Syrian, so we were very Orthodox, and the women in synagogue were always upstairs. And I remember seeing my brothers and my father and men of the community, and I would watch them as they were holding the Torah, and we used to kiss it from the top. I had never been on the bima except to get married, and that's why I did it on Shabbat, holding the Torah and walking with the Torah, and then opening it and trying to read it. My eyes filled up with tears, and I'm almost crying now thinking about it. And I could hardly read from the Torah in the end, but it was a very moving part of the ceremony for me.
Most of my adult life, I've been an actress, a writer, and a director. So after having my Simchat Chachma and reading from Torah, it seemed only natural that I would want to write a theater piece about my experience. I had a vision. I saw myself standing in the synagogue on the bima and reading Torah. And the black letters on the white parchment, they were dancing. And the words I had been given before I was born, they burst forth from an ancient place deep inside of me. Shema! Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. V'yavta et Adonai Elohecha, v'chol levavcha, u'v'chol nafshecha,
Make our lives a blessing.
El na Rafanallah. Please, God, heal her now.
Debbie Friedman wrote 3 songs for me, and one was the song of Miriam and the Timbrels, and the other is the Mishabera, which is a prayer of healing, which was an important part of the transition ceremony as a prayer of healing of the past as we move forward in wholeness and with a sense of strength.
It's been a difficult 6 years in our family. It's okay if I cry.
She is at a time in her life when many women are still in despair about the loss of a long-term partner, and yet she is claiming life in a new way, in a way that seems enormously healthy.
I was learning about being alone, and that perhaps my way of mourning was to learn to live more intently.
There's an image of the Shekhinah, of the Divine Presence, as having wings, and we're going to materialize these wings as the wings and the fringes of Marty's grandfather's talit, which we'll use to wrap around us in this circle.
Misheberach imotenu makor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, a renewal of body and renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. May you be blessed beneath the wings of Shekhinah. Be blessed with love, be blessed with peace.
This is a truly blessed moment. I wonder if we could just take a moment and reflect on how special this is. That Harriet, I should call you Ietmir, your transition name. You know, how special it is, Ietmir, that you've decided to make a ritual. And you're not just making a ritual for yourself, you're making a ritual for future generations. And this is really important to us and to our children and to our grandchildren.
I would like to bless Harriet to delve very deep into Torah.
Amen. Amen.
I want to bless Harriet because I love her.
We want to bless Harriet because we love her.
I really understand how important it is for us to accept our mortality, because in accepting our mortality, then what happens is every moment is very, very important.
Halfway through the ceremony, I changed into a kittel, and the kittel is the garment that you wear to be buried in. I felt very moved. I could feel the whole congregation. I think it was a bit of a shock when I did that. I don't think I had actually faced death the way I thought I mean, I was thinking of doing the act, but when I actually did it, I really felt it.
This part of the service is the transition from our accepting those things over which we have no control to begin to recognize those things over which we do. It's about change and taking power for our own lives and how we live every day and how we relate to the world around us.
Marty is now going to change her clothes from the robe that she is wearing into a kittel. A kittel is a traditional Jewish garment worn at one's wedding, of course by a male, because men in Judaism did everything. But the kittel really accrued to that particular man. And he not only wore it at his wedding, also every year at the Pesach Seder, also on Yom Kippur, and finally, each man who had used the kittel on so many different occasions was buried in it. It was placed over the traditional shrouds and became part of that shroud, just as many traditional Jews are buried in their talit.
I put on this kittel. I figure I ought to get about 30 years of wear. On joyous occasions, spiritual moments, but I also understand that in putting it on, I accept the inevitability of life.
I really saw this as like the first steps to the end of my life. And I had, my book was published, and I had done quite a few things in my life that I was pleased with. And I really thought that, you know, now I was going to settle back and perhaps be a role model for kids or something like that.
It's the beginning of the downhill road. And hopefully it's a long road, you know, maybe till 90 or more, the way people are living now. But certainly not one that's going to continue at the same pace.
And of course now it's 11 years later. And the truth is that my life didn't change at all. I wrote another book, and I've published many other articles, and I've lectured, and I've even had a wonderful relationship. So a lot of things have happened in the 10 years, which is part of the old age that I'm talking about. Trees were really, they were important in the lives of our biblical ancestors. Abraham planted a tamarisk, and Deborah sat under a palm tree, and these trees are very significant. So I felt that I wanted to do something that also was going to live and, in a sense, create a life before I left. And so I brought a planted tree into the synagogue, and I put the earth on it, and then I had other people come and also put the earth on. And actually the tree is in my garden, and the intention was that I should be buried under it.
I want to tell you why I'm planting this tree and why I'm planting it here. For the last year and a half, I have walked through this courtyard, up these stairs to the second door to study with Cantor Brian Reich. And as I walked through the courtyard, there were these little children playing, the nursery school children, and they were so present in their play that I marveled at that. And I watched them and I thought, I would like to give something to these children. And I talked to Brian, and he said, well, why don't you plant a tree? We don't have any palms. And I thought, that's perfect. I can give that back to the children.
Well, the whole idea of the simcha, to me, was to accept who you are at this stage in life. And I think it's a really important thing to do, because our whole society is so geared towards and focused on youth.
Probably the most significant part of the whole creation of this service was my own empowerment of me to make decisions, to be on my own, to make commitments, to not be dependent on anyone else. I mean, it seems a little ridiculous at the age of 60. You first have to begin making major decisions, where you want to live, how you're going to afford things, what you're going to allow yourself to do.
I have 60 years, 3 weeks, and 2 days of life experience. And I would like you to turn to someone next to you and introduce yourself, because we're going to be spending the evening together. And if you feel comfortable, tell them how many years, days, months, and minutes of life experience you have. This is a challenge. So each of us has a great deal of wisdom, and collectively we have more than a great deal of wisdom.
The truth is that to me, I feel wonderful being old. I don't say I'm not afraid of death. Of course I'm afraid of death, but I think I'm more accepting of it, having done the Simcha.
I think that for Judaism to live and survive, we have to begin expanding the kinds of rituals we do for people, keeping them within the context of Judaism, but also reaching into where we are in our lives today.
I come from a very ritual-oriented community, the Orthodox community. And so I have learned to understand ritual, that ritual communicates value, and not only expresses value, but it also communicates value. And the idea of ritualizing something to give it value and to give it meaning and to pass it on to others and to extend it beyond yourself and your own personal life to your family and your community and to the next generation. There's plenty of room here for creating a new ritual, which, as I said, is part of the process of revitalizing Judaism without overstepping halachic boundaries.
The way that Judaism and feminism have fed each other and nurtured each other, there have been women who have said, wait a minute, I want a time to celebrate something for me. So yes, many of these rituals are being begun by women, but there are also men who are interested.
I don't want to live in a world where my feminism is such that it excludes the other half of the world as I was excluded. That what I'm hoping we're demonstrating is the universality of what we're doing, the inclusiveness of what we're doing.
Overwhelming or overpowering to think of creating a ritual that maybe will be part of the liturgy, 200-300 years from now. Quite an exhilarating thought.
Yeah, I didn't really think of it in those terms, quite as far ahead as that.
Doing this in a feminist model, we will help to change the face of Judaism.
So I think the covenantal ceremonies are vital to bring about the perception that girls and women are as much connected to the covenant as are males.
Like Miriam, I want to dance with my timbrel. I want to teach other women to listen to their heart's desire. Today, it is time for me to take my full power, to stand up and be counted, to take my place in my community. From this day forward, I will be known as Miriam, a leader of women.
Miriam Hanevia, Oz Vesimra Beada, Miriam Tirkoditanu, Lehagdil Zimrat Olam, Miriam Tirkoditanu, Letakenet Haolam.
I'd started an organization called Sarah's Tent. That came from Sarah. I wanted to leave a legacy of my feeling of Judaism and women, and feminist men, because there are, fortunately, a few of them. And we have some members in Sarah's Tent, and they're great. And basically what I wanted to do was to create a community mostly of women, but not exclusively, to understand what Torah is about from my point of view. I wanted a community of women to understand that the stories can be interpreted differently. I also wanted to bring back, for instance, like Rosh Chodesh, which is the ritual to the new moon, which is a woman's ritual. And I wanted to also teach Midrash. It's such a pleasure when people come up and say, "Oh, did you write Lechilach? And what a wonderful song it is, and changed my life." And my word of wisdom is, it's wonderful to be old.
It's truly an honor to be sitting here with you, Marty.
Oh,
And to have you be a role model. I should only look as good and feel as wonderful and be so much a part of the world as you are when I'm 70.
And
So.
let's hope we both have many, many years to go out there doing it.
Yeah. I will not live an unlived life. I will not live in fear of falling or catching fire. I choose to inhabit my days, to allow my living to open me, to make me less afraid, more accessible, to loosen my heart until it becomes a wing, a torch, a promise. I choose to risk my significance, to live so that which came to me as seed goes on to the next as blossom, and that which came to me as blossom goes on as fruit.
As we keep